How important are data structures and algorithm in getting a programming job? So in this video, I'll explain everything you need to know about data structures and algorithms. So let's begin. So if you're new around here, my name is Rayyan Siddiqui. I work at Microsoft. And this video I'll show on the screen somewhere. So this video was actually requested from a viewer of mine who asked how important are DSA, data structures and algorithms, in a programming job. So I'll structure this answer in two parts. One will be for interviews and your actual job. Now, as a software engineer, the work you do is for problem solving. Like learning a programming knowing a programming language, that's good. That's super impressive. Like that's a key to like actually doing your job. But being able to solve problems, that's the main part. Like that's what you're being paid for as a software engineer. It's not necessarily to code, it's to be able to solve these problems. And then how you code them, that's the second part. But the primary thing is how you solve your problems. And almost all computer problems, the way you solve them is built on your data structure and algorithmic knowledge. But we'll dive into this a bit deeper in two parts. So first, for interviews. Now, a lot of people, they usually, when they're prepping for their interviews, they see a lot of resources, like a lot of videos online, like preparing, like learning these data structures, learning these basic algorithms, like these most famous algorithms that will help you in your interviews. Now, interviews, the stuff they ask you in interviews, like around data structures and algorithms, I feel is a bit, I don't know, I feel a bit weird. Let me know in the comments like what you guys feel about it. Like most of the stuff they ask you in interviews, like you never use in your job. Like I've talked to countless developers and no one has ever done that in their job. But I mean, it's still, because that's the fundamental of programming. So I guess in a way, interviewers are testing like on your really, really core knowledge in software engineering, software development. But in a way, I mean, I don't know. Let me know like what you guys think. Like I feel like a lot of the questions they ask are not practical. So yeah, moving on to the second part, in your job. Now this is like dependent on what you work on, what product you work on. Like whether that's a front end, back end, like whether you work on like certain services or whatever. Like this knowledge of certain data structures, like implementing algorithms, like this for some roles like never apply. Like almost, I mean, obviously it applies to some extent, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Like the core stuff, like the stuff that's flown around like as a meme in the software engineering community, like being asked in your interview like about binary trees, like hash maps and so on. Like obviously that is practical. Like you actually use this stuff to an extent, but the stuff they ask you in interviews, that's what I'm referring. So the stuff they ask you in interviews, usually that you never use, but depending on your role, like what stuff you're working on, like that stuff is extremely, like that's the foundation of software engineering, your basic knowledge of data structures and your algorithms. So for example, say you work as a web developer, as a front-end engineer. Now, obviously you'll be using some data structures, but having an in-depth knowledge of algorithms like that, you'll never probably like your work is just like centering a div, like changing colors of stuff, like making button work and so on. So you'll obviously never use that. But say you're working on like a back-end service, like obviously algorithms and stuff, that's really important. So to answer your question, it is super important, but it depends on how you look at it. So I wasn't too sure if you're asking it in like in an interview context or like in an actual job context. A lot of the stuff that people prep for in an interview, you never use it in a job. But depending on what like product or what job you're doing in the software engineering space, having an in-depth knowledge is extremely helpful in software engineering about data structures and algorithms. So my recommendation is you learn about them. But again, I feel like this happens a lot in interview prep. Like people spend a lot of time learning stuff that they don't actually never use in their job. So that's like the point I'm trying to get at. Like, I mean, this is true. Like, let me know in the comments if you feel the same way. Like, especially in our interview prep phase, like that's happened with me. Like 98% of the stuff that I like try to do, like all those lead code questions, like I've never applied them in my job. And perhaps maybe I work at like a super low level maybe. And by low, I mean it as the opposite way, like not in the software context, low level. Like I'm not at that high level yet where I need to implement like these core algorithmic logics and so on. So yeah, so that was my response to this question. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any other questions or any videos you'd like me to make. Make sure you like and subscribe. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of January. And I'll see you guys in the next one.